Let me show you how we can go through the initial configuration on Google Pixel 10 Pro XL. So let's get right into it. After booting up your Pixel 10 Pro XL, we can tap on this arrow over here in order to begin. First, we need to choose the language that we wish to use. Of course, we can go for English. And in some cases, for some languages, you also need to choose the region. So we're gonna choose United States in this case. Now over here we can set up our Pixel 10 Pro XL with another device. So if you still have your old phone, you can just simply choose that you had Pixel or Android device or iPhone or iPad, and then just follow the rest of the instructions. However, in my case, I want to perform a clean setup without another device. So in that case, we're just gonna tap on skip in the bottom left corner. Next, we can connect to our Wi-Fi, so you should be able to find the list of available networks. You can also set up your Pixel with the mobile network if you have inserted the physical SIM card, or you can set up without the internet by choosing setup offline. In my case, I'm gonna actually connect to the Wi-Fi. In case you don't see your network on this list, you can tap on see all Wi-Fi networks in order to reveal the whole list. So let's connect. And if the password was correct, you should be able to move on to the next screen where we have getting your phone ready. So now we just need to patiently wait for another thing to show on our screen. There we go. Now over here we can choose if we want to set it up for ourselves or for our children, or for child actually. So in my case, I'm gonna choose that I want to set up my Pixel 10 Pro XL for myself. And now we need to wait for another screen again. You have the option to sign into your Google account, so you can provide your credentials over here, first the email or phone number, and then if you choose next, then you have to enter the password. If you want to, you can also create a new account over here by choosing create account, or you can skip signing into Google account by choosing skip over here in the bottom left corner. Of course, later on, you can still sign into a Google account by going to settings. In my case, I'm gonna sign in. And if you do decide to log into your account, then we need to agree to Google Terms of Service. Next, we can set up a PIN code or a password for the lock screen. So if you want to set up a PIN code, then of course you can just do that immediately. You can also tap on screen lock options in order to choose a different password type. And you can also skip this process by choosing skip text over here again in the bottom left side of the screen, or at least the left side. And we're just gonna skip that, of course. Later on, once again, we can set it up in settings. If you want to, of course, feel free to set it up. You might also be asked to, or offered to set up the face recognition or fingerprint for your phone right after that. Then we have copy apps and data. So this is another chance to pretty much copy and move files from one device to another. You can also use a backup. So if you have Google Backup on your Google account, and then you can just go next over here, and you should be able to choose the backup from your account. And you can also just choose to do it later over here in the bottom left corner. So since we are performing a clean setup, and then of course we're gonna skip that. Then we have Google services, so you can agree to use location. Of course, once again, later on, we can change that in settings. So in my case, I'm gonna disable location. If you do decide to use location, I can recommend you disabling scanning. This allows you to save the battery a little bit because we don't have to have this option enabled all the time. Then we have the option to send usage at diagnostic data. I'm gonna turn it off as well, and then we're gonna press accept. Next, we have the option to backup our data on our Google account, so we can back up photos and videos as well as other device data that is listed over here. If you want to, you can uncheck any of these options. If you still decide to create a backup or use backup for your phone, and then you can choose turn on backup. In my case, I don't want to make any backups, so I'm just gonna select do not backup. Next, we need to choose our default browser and search engine. So we're gonna go next. First, we need to select a browser. If you don't know what to choose from here, you can probably choose Google Chrome. This will be like the safest option, I guess. Although any of these browsers do their work, they work just fine, and you probably will be happy with them. But if you don't know what to choose, I guess recommend you using Google Chrome in that case, and then we can press set as default. And over here we can choose the search engine, so the most popular choice is of course Google, and we're gonna choose set as default. Next we have the information about limited warranty, which might be visible in your case. And so if you want to read some information about the warranty, then of course you can select your country over here and find out more. And then let's go next. Next we have some features made by Google, of course. So we're gonna go next. Here we have the Gemini, so we can tap on the next over here, and you can immediately set up the Hey Google voice recognition or voice command. So if you want to be able to activate the Gemini by saying Hey Google out loud, then of course you can press turn on. I'm just gonna skip that. I don't need that. I don't use that, so there's no point for me to use it. And then we have some more information about magic cues, and so you can read more about it over here. And if you do so, then we can press turn on in the bottom right corner, or you can of course disagree and not use this feature if you choose no thanks. I'm gonna actually turn it on. Then we have the information about Pixel Satellite SOS, and then we have quick share. So we're gonna, if you want to use it, we can press I agree. You can also set up Google Pay immediately over here, so you can add your payment card into Google Pay if you wanted to. In my case, I'm gonna skip that. We can still set it up later by opening Google Wallet app. After that, we have the option to make some additional adjustments on our phone before we go to the home screen. So if you want to make some changes over here or add some things, then of course feel free to do that. In my case, I'm gonna choose no thanks. I just want to get done with the initial setup. And then we have the option to stay up to date with Google products and news and so on and so forth. So if you want to receive mails from Google, then of course you can agree to that. In my case, I don't want this these news and all other stuff to be sent on my email. Then we have the option to swipe to navigate, so you can use the gestures in order to navigate on your phone, and you can press try it in order to find out how to use it if you are not familiar with the gesture navigation. In my case, I already know how to use it, so I'm just gonna press skip. And there we go, we are pretty much all set. But if you decide to switch from gesture navigation to 3-button navigation, then you can choose system navigation settings over here, and then you should be able to, to choose what type of navigation you wish to use. And then we can now swipe up in order to open the home screen. And that is pretty much it. So now you can of course start doing things that you usually do on your phone. You can start downloading apps, updating them, and so on and so forth. Thanks for watching, leave a like and subscribe.